How's it going, everyone? Andy here from 4K Downtime, back at you with another 4K news update. There's a lot to discuss, so let's just go right into it as usual. So what I want to talk about in this video is going to purely focus on Sega, because recently Sega came out with a lot of details, so there's a lot of things to talk about just from them. So the first thing, this is probably the least exciting thing for me personally, because I kind of saw this coming from quite a few miles away, is the re-release of Shenmue 1 and 2 on PS4, PC and Xbox One. Now they claim that they're the basically definitive edition, basically another one of those HD remasters. Now they've released a trailer for it, and from what I can see, it's Shenmue 1 and 2. Sorry if I sound like less excited, it's just Shenmue isn't really my kind of game. I remember playing it on the Dreamcast, both 1 and 2. I remember enjoying it, but I didn't think much about it once I've actually finished it. It kind of like, to be fair, I actually forgot how the second game even ended. So, and I was one of those people that if you would have released Shenmue 3, around that time, I probably would have been like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna get it and finish it. But because Shenmue 3, in my opinion, has come way past its prime, now that it's coming out, trying to continue the story, because I personally felt like games like Yakuza has kind of already taken over Shenmue for me, especially Yakuza has stuff like it. Just like Shenmue, Yakuza obviously is very story driven as well, and while I haven't really played every single game, but the ones that I did try out, the stories was amazing. I think Kazuma's a great main protagonist, not to say that Ryo wasn't in Shenmue, but I just can't help but feel like this sequel is coming a bit too late. So now with the re-release of the very first two games, I don't know, I'm just not as excited as everybody else around me. But then again, maybe it's not necessarily geared towards me. It's definitely for those who might be intrigued by Shenmue 3 but have never played the first two games, and they probably don't want to break a bank to kind of either get it on the original Dreamcast or try to get it on the original Xbox. So they decide you know what, let's give these people who are intrigued or maybe haven't played it in a while another chance to revisit these classics. So if you're one of those people, hey, great for you. I'm happy that they make a move like this, so it's definitely going to be speaking to you. For me, not necessarily, but needless to say, I felt it was definitely right for them to re-release it just before Shenmue 3 comes out. But anyway, moving on to the next topic is the announcement of the Sega Mega Drive Mini. So yeah, over here in Europe it's called the Mega Drive. I know over in the States it's called Genesis. So regarding that, it's pretty clear why Sega did it. Nintendo did it, with the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, so they end up selling very, very well. So why not try to do something similar? And for me, again, it's something I probably will buy it for in terms of a collector's item, because I think I'm pretty much a collector myself when it comes to consoles, so I would definitely see myself picking it up. But the only thing is that I myself already still have my old classic, still have my own classic Mega Drive with me. So, and I've still owned a lot of the games, because unlike the NES and the SNES, unfortunately my old ones doesn't even work anymore. So I actually needed the minis, to fill my hunger for classic games, for classic Nintendo games. But with the Mega Drive, because I still got it up and running even now, they still work perfectly fine, and a lot of the games I still got are still here and they're in perfectly working condition. I'm not too sure whether I buy it. Probably will still do, like I said, as a collector's item, but I just don't see myself playing it as much as I probably should. But anyway, moving on once again, next one, and this one is this is probably the biggest one for me that I'm really looking forward to, is the announcement of Sega Ages. Now, just in case if you don't know what it is, I'll give you a quick little brief. Basically, think of it as just what Nintendo's virtual console is. This is essentially Sega's version, where you get to play a lot of these re-release classics games, ranging from the Master Systems all the way from Mega Drive. Then hopefully, now this is something that we don't know yet, which what I want to base this whole video I want to talk about is the potential games that can come on Sega Ages. Because right now it seems like they're mostly going to be focusing on Mega Drive games and maybe Master System games as well. But the producers of Sega Ages have actually said that there's that potential that you can get Sega Saturns as well as Dreamcast games. Now, as soon as I think about Dreamcast games, yeah, especially this Sega Ages is something that is coming over to the Switch so far. They've only announced it for the Switch. Now, I don't necessarily feel surprised for them announcing it on the Switch, because if you look at how SNK is doing with the Neo Geo games, like, you know, if you browse on the eShop, once in a while you probably always notice that a new Neo Geo classic have just been added onto the eShop. This is essentially like, you know, obviously Sega's take of it, and probably Sega saw, alright, SNK is making quite a bit of money with these classics, so they decided to throw their own take on it as well. Because the SNK games, the Neo Geos, I believe they sell really good on the Switch, because if they weren't, yeah, I can't see the reason why they were consistently releasing game after game after game. But when it comes to Sega games, yeah, it's like they have an even bigger portfolio, and if they do end up putting Saturn as well as Dreamcast games on it, oh my god, I can't just imagine how awesome that where that would be. Like, just think about it just from one brief moment. Dreamcast games, yeah, that you could take on the go. But even if, like, you know, Sega actually did announce that, oh, you know what, Sega Ages is actually going to come out on PlayStation, PC as well as Xbox, I still feel like the biggest attraction that most people will be gearing towards with is the Switch, because let's be honest here, guys, these games are going to look the same across the board. Doesn't really matter which platform you play it on, it's probably going to run the same, look the same, and just handles the same overall. That your only real preference is just which controller you prefer. But the Switch in this case, obviously the Switch offers something that the others simply couldn't do. It's like all of these games are simply, all of a sudden, just become portable games. Like, I mean, Saturn, I don't care too much, although I do want to revisit it at some point, especially if they are going to be part of Sega Ages as well, because back when I owned the Saturn, I actually did own one, but unfortunately it got sandwiched between PlayStation and N64. Back then I owned all the consoles, and I was just basically been playing mostly N64 and PlayStation, and I felt like Saturn was largely ignored during that time when I had it. So I felt like now would be a great time to revisit some of the Saturn classics, but Dreamcast is the one for me. I really felt like it was a great system. Sega, and like, you know, they walked out with a bang, in my opinion. It was a great system, had a lot of really great games, and even now when I'm just looking through the classics, I mean, man, Soul Calibur, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Rayman 2, Quake 3, Jet Ram Radio, Virtual Tennis, Dead or Alive 2, Skies of Arcadia, Crazy Taxi, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and the list just goes on and on. The Dreamcast had quite a lot of really good games, actually. Like, you know, so to see these games, yeah, come on, if they do actually be part of Sega Ages, my poor wallet, I could simply see myself buying a ton of these, like, you know, a ton of these games. Jet Ram Radio is one of my all-time favorite games on the Dreamcast. Virtual Tennis was awesome. I'm not even a big sports guy, and I love Virtual Tennis. Marvel vs. Capcom, like that game, just say it and you will know why everybody goes crazy about it. Skies of Arcadia to me was a great JRPG, and I can't wait to revisit that if that ever does come on Sega Ages. Now, I potentially see that these Sega Ages might not be within the eShop. If I was to guess, Sega Ages might actually be a separate app in itself that you, much like how you access the eShop, you probably just access it like that. You browse through maybe Sega's own network, and then you just go through every single game and just buy them for whatever that price is. Essentially the same kind of thing as the eShop, like no difference than any of the other stores from any of the other consoles. But if they do this, they will make me very happy, because there are tons and tons of games that I want to revisit, and the ability to revisit them on the Switch, taking it portable, that is just, for me, too good to be true. Now, I do hope it end up being true, because I would really love it. And yeah, like, this is one of, I felt like Sega hasn't really made me that happy as a fan of them, like, you know, especially as a fan of them back in, like, you know, the 90s and something like that. And this is literally the very first time in a very long time that Sega has made me very happy. Now, this is still somewhat of a dream, of course. Like, the producers were open-mindedly and say that, yeah, there could potentially be Saturn's and Dreamcast games, but if they really do, like they really are on it and was able to get Saturn and Dreamcast on there, then oh my god, like it doesn't even matter then this year, like, you know, whether or not does Nintendo, like, you know, release that many games this year, because like most of my time will probably be playing, like, you know, these classics. And if Nintendo brings their own virtual consoles, that's just to make it that much more. Of course, for a lot of these, a lot of the other audience, yeah, I'm sure they will definitely release their own exclusives, like the Pokemons and the well, not Metroid and Bayonetta, but a lot of their other games, like, you know, obviously for the mainstream audience. But for somebody like me, yeah, I'm just a sucker for retro stuff, so retro console stuff definitely will appeal to me. Not to say that I wouldn't play the actual, like, you know, games that's coming out for the rest of the year, but this is something that I, without a doubt, I could definitely tell I'm going to enjoy if it ever happens. Again, strong if, but I'm crossing my fingers and want to keep my hopes up. But anyway, guys, enough about what my thoughts of this. Like, you know, I know the last 2 minutes it was just me gushing over this, but let me know what you guys think. Like, what do you think about Sega Ages? Is it something that you yourself are also really hyped about? Are you really excited to hear whether or not if Dreamcast games and Saturn games will actually be making over to Sega Ages? And what was your favorite classic? Let me know. But anyway, guys, this is Andy from 4K Downtime signing off. Yeah, have a good one, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.